The Stxyosaurus lagoon that I'm gonna show you how I built is half dream, half nightmare. Half Pandora from Avatar, half horror movie, which I hope will inspire you for your own builds. Hello everyone and thanks for checking out this speed build for a Styxosaurus habitat in Jurassic World Evolution 2. And as I always do for these exhibit builds, I'm including the build of the surrounding guest area, and that also follows the theme of one side being spooky and the other side being happy and dreamy. So that's what you're seeing right now, like they come right onto this Jurassic Park gate, and then they either go to the left, which is the spooky side, or they go to the right, which is the happy, dreamy side, and we'll be using the decorations and lights and stuff like that to make that distinction. Now, I will say that even though Update 4 has given us some amazing lagoon decorations and have really added to our experience of building lagoons for our marine reptiles, it is still quite minimal. For that reason, by necessity, the majority of this build is going to be the two guest sections. That being said, I am really happy with how the underwater lagoon environment turned out. I especially did the mostest with the lights that I'm excited to show you, but in the end it just wasn't very time consuming. So that's why I really just wanted to show you this really elaborate guest build that I've done around it to sort of sell the theme. So this, for example, is the entry point of the happy area. This is the entry point of the spooky area. You can see that I used the Spinosaurus skull and Spinosaurus skeleton for the spooky side, and a lot of water features for the happy, dreamy side. Of course, what Update 4 has also given us is the option to recolor our light sources, our light decorations throughout the park. So that is something I'm really making the most of during this build. So I'm placing a lot of lights throughout the guest section and inside the lagoons as well. So we can really use the lights to help enhance that atmosphere. And here again, you can see I'm using like the just rock planters for the spooky side, but the lush planters for the happy, dreamy side. By the way, if you're interested in exhibit speed builds, I've done exhibit speed builds for 14 species before, including the most popular big carnivores, so the T-Rex, the Indominus Rex, the Giga, the Indoraptor. And there's a playlist for all of them which you can find on the channel, and feel free to give suggestions for species in a comment for the next speed build that I should do. And I promise you that those builds, although they also show the accompanying guest area, those builds do focus quite a bit more on the actual habitat, because there's just a lot more that we can do with our land habitats, even after what is honestly a brilliant update, free update with the lagoon decorations. It's still just a little bit limited. What I really hope to see in the future is that they will give us the ability to at least raise and lower the terrain in the lagoons, and possibly also add maybe a foliage brush, an underwater foliage brush. It's something that has popped up in my comment section a lot as well. People wanting like a kelp forest foliage brush. I think that would be really, really cool to have in the game. Another thing I've done to enhance the themes of the two sides of this habitat build is use the different path colors. So as you can see, it's gray on the spooky side and the fancy path on the happy side. And I've also decided to use mostly Jurassic Park buildings on the spooky side because they just look a little bit more, well, they just look less fancy, I guess you could say. And then Jurassic World buildings, like the Jurassic World viewing tower, for example, on the happy side. Obviously, it's not an exact science, so if you want to incorporate this idea, this concept into your own parks or for your own habitat build, you know, just look around, shop around for which decorations you feel like have more of a spooky energy and which one feel more happy-go-lucky to you. For example, in terms of decorations, I decided to put the Biosyn decorations on the spooky side, you know, because they have that rusted metal look, and also, well, Biosyn was literally a villain in the movie franchise, so I felt like thematically that fit the best. Other than that, just use plenty of these Spinosaurus skulls. I really wish that we would get more of those skulls, more skeletons to add to our parks. And what I also really want is for them to add the lights that we have for underwater, the lagoon lights, that they make those available for above water as well, for on land, because those lights have a really good beam that you can aim at an object, which is not a decorative light that we really have for on land. But here you can see I'm just going ham with all of the decorations. I'm adding the biosyn decorations, as I said, to the quote-unquote spooky side. And these tall biosyn lamps are the best for what I just described, for having a light source actually aimed at the object in front of us. Unfortunately, those biosyn lampposts, they're quite tall, so they're quite noticeable, and the light beam doesn't actually go that far. It's not very strong. So that's why I really think that those angled lights that we have for the lagoons, I really want them to make something like that available for use on land. Because as you'll see in a minute, light does so much for atmosphere that we really need to just be able to aim a light beam at like a tree, for example, or at that Spinosaurus skeleton. That would be so excellent. I'm literally wringing my hands like some sort of villain as I'm talking about this and thinking about this. This Stxyosaurus Lagoon build, like the theme of it, the dark side and the light side of it, is actually based on a park build idea that I've been sitting on for a while and that I'll finally be starting soon. And it's basically an entire park split into two, and guests can either decide to take the happy dreamy side or they can take the spooky side, like a choose your own adventure style thing. I've been kind of postponing that build because I can't decide if I want to do that build without mods still, as I've been doing so far, or if I finally want to start modding for that specific build. Because obviously there's a lot more I can do with mods for that theme, but I don't know what you guys want to see, and what I'm gonna do is I'll probably leave it up to a community poll soon, so you guys can democratically decide if it'll be with mods or still without mods. I will say, you know, mods bring a lot to the table, but for me personally, it's very different from how it was in Jurassic World Evolution 1. In Jurassic World Evolution 1, when the mods started happening, I was like, yes, I'm ready for this. But for this game, honestly, I don't particularly feel that rush, and I feel like that's really a testament to how much better Jurassic World Evolution 2 is. But that as an aside, if you're interested in seeing that park build and getting a say in whether it's going to be modded or unmodded, consider subscribing to the channel so you can vote in the poll and be there when the park building series starts on the channel. I will be doing it as a full episodic park building series, and I'm just very excited about that idea. Now, you see that we have entered nighttime as I was rambling on. Here you can see me use those biosyn lights, which really are the best for aiming a light beam. As you see, you know, the trees are fairly well illuminated, but it's not excellent. I've moved the Spinosaurus skeleton a little bit so I can put the lights behind it, some lights in front. Honestly, it's a little bit too much, and that's why I really want those lagoon lights. And now comes the fun part that is from the free update that we got last week, this past week I should say, and that is recoloring all of the lights. And I feel like I went a little bit overboard with it, but you know, it's a new toy that we want to play with, it's awesome, and we're just testing things out. For example, in the happy side, you see a lot of pink that I'm replacing right now, and that's because I decided to go for more like imitating one of those bioluminescent Stxyosaurus skins, which is the like green and blue combined, and that's what I sort of used for that guest section. And now finally, God, almost 9 minutes in, we're finally underwater for the actual habitat build. And you can see that it's really just a case of placing a lot of those decorations. We're in the happy side right now, so for the happy side, the dreamy side, the Pandora of Avatar side, I'm using mostly the coral decorations, and now I'm putting in some of the rocks. I'm just checking to see what it looks like from the viewing gallery, just to see if I've covered enough ground so that from the viewing gallery it looks like an entire area has been covered. And now the best part is using these lights that I've been talking about this entire time. These lights are absolutely brilliant, and I really feel like we need these for use above land as well, because you can see just how well you can aim the light beam at the stuff in front of it. And it would be even better if we had the rotate on all axis feature, so we could aim the light beam up as needed, like up into a tree and stuff like that. And now it's a case of recoloring the lights. What's very important here is that for the dreamy side, I've aimed the lights directly at the scenery. And we're gonna do it very differently in the spooky side that I'm working on now. Obviously, we're starting with the Indominus Rex Skeleton, very important. And again, I just tested from the viewing gallery if we had a proper view of the Indominus Rex Skeleton from that viewing gallery, just to make sure that nothing was blocking it and that it was close enough to see. And then the other decorations are the cages, the boats, and some rocks. But I didn't want to use too much because I wanted to feel quite barren. And now you'll see what I'm doing is I'm aiming it at some of them, but that was a good example. I'm also backlighting a lot of the things because that, I feel, gives it more of a horror appeal if it's backlit and you see sort of these silhouetted shapes. And then in terms of color, I'm using more of the dark blues and reds to illuminate our underwater scenery. And now the time has come to release many Stxyosaurus into our lagoon to add that bioluminescent factor to it. I also added the Mosasaurus into this lagoon, and that is for the spooky effect, you know, like this surprise dark big shadow gliding through the water. And we're just gonna pretend in our imagination, as I always say, use your imagination, and we're gonna pretend that the Mosasaurus can actually not go into that like fork that goes to the right. So it can't go into the happy area, but it can of course go into the front where the shark feeders are, and it can go into the spooky area. And maybe the Mosasaurus sometimes kills a Styxosaurus, to the horror of the guests in the spooky side of the guest area and the viewing area. And this is the light, bright, and happy side that we're going into, with the waterfalls and a lot of blues and calming colors. And then on the other side, there's a lot of red, there's skeletons, there's backlit cages, there is the raptor cage that the guests can see to sort of invoke more of those spooky feelings. I absolutely love this particular shot because it totally like encapsulates what I was going for. This really reminds me of, you know, underwater Pandora of Avatar. I absolutely love how this turned out with the bioluminescent Styxosaurus swimming around. It just makes me so happy, and honestly, I could watch this for hours. This needs to be a screensaver. It's just hitting me right now. Absolutely gorgeous, and I love the Styxosaurus as well. Great new creature to have in the Late Cretaceous DLC. And this, of course, is the spooky side. Honestly, maybe I went a little bit overboard with the lights. Still, maybe it should have been even darker and more barren than it is now. But again, lights are the new toy, my new favorite toy, so I just wanted to even put quite a few of them in here. But I think that the way the cages are illuminated is successfully spoopy. Then of course, here she is. Here she lies, the Indominus Rex, slain by the three musketeers, Rexy, Blue, and the Mosasaurus. Mosasaurus, which also roams through this habitat to the chagrin of the Stxyosaurus and the sharks. If you enjoyed this build, give the video a like, that helps me out so much. And if you want to see more, check out that playlist on the channel with all exhibit speed builds. And of course, there's even more coming to the channel, so if you don't want to miss out on anything, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and you'll always be here to hopefully get inspired for your own Jurassic World Evolution 2 builds. Thank you so much for watching, liking, subscribing, and until next time, enjoy the game.